This is The Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Heel. What they gonna say next?
Hey team, it is that time again. It's all thanks to TCL Mobile, 2K23 and UPCOZ. Joe Healy and Shane Hill with you as always. Hammer, before we begin and before the pen clicking starts, you had your first win.
Yes.
With the Flames.
Well done,
Congratulations.
ladies. Well done.
Congratulations.
Shot the ball well. Thank you. Very good. Much better drive home after a win and a much better sleep.
We
We just need a few more of them.
I can imagine.
Youngest team in the league. It's never been said. No one's mentioned it this year, but we are.
We also want to acknowledge Brian Gorgon and his family
Yes.
for the loss of his dad, Ed, who obviously has had such a big influence on basketball in America and here in Australia. So just sending our thoughts and prayers to him and the family as well.
Yeah, thoughts and love to you, Gorge, and your family. Because I know during his time in Melbourne with the Spectres and Magic and Titans, the whole Gorgian family had a big influence on a lot of those guys growing up. So thoughts go out to you, mate.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into our TCL starting five. Beginning with Brisbane, they have filled their vacant import spot.
Oh, hallelujah.
Andrew White has come in.
Better late than never.
Spent a little bit of time with the Hawks in between the NBA and G League teams. Is this a good move?
Well, you tell me, Joe. You said off air that he's been told he's a really good
You're
scorer.
not allowed to reveal this at these
A
conversations.
source told you he's a very good scorer. He averaged 7 points a game in Turkey. That doesn't necessarily mean he's a bad scorer.
No,
I think that's what I read, is it?
definitely did not say very good scorer. Potential
Did
to
you
be.
say good scorer?
I said can score.
Can score, but hasn't.
Potential
in the
to
past,
be
so
potential reportedly to be a good glue guy, which is exactly what they need.
They definitely need that.
From a coach's point of view with Brisbane, they obviously had a tough loss on the weekend. Sam McKinnon said after their game that he would like that head coaching role full time for the rest
Why
of the
wouldn't
season.
he? They're not going to keep him as GM.
You don't think so?
No, that whole thing's toxic up there between ownership and management and all of that. And JD, the whole thing didn't work. We knew that at the start. So I wouldn't think that he's going to be there as GM. So why wouldn't he just lay his cards on the table, do the best job he possibly can as the coach? And players are playing for him, which is a good thing. They haven't got the results, but they're playing hard.
They need some stability, that's for sure. The Jack Jumpers came back from 14 down in the fourth to beat the Kings. They held them to 6.
Are you wearing that colour for that?
No,
Is that the
it's
Jack
because
Jumpers?
it's Christmas.
Oh, okay.
It's coming up to Christmas.
I thought because the Jack Jumpers won.
They held the Kings to 6 in the fourth quarter. We'll get to that in a second, but from a Jack Jumpers point of view, what are you liking about what they're doing?
Jack McVeigh.
Uh-huh.
I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Jack McVeigh, he's just so much fun. You know, he doesn't make shots at the start of the game, but when it counts, he came up big with a couple of big pick and pops and just goes bang each time. Doyle's been fantastic as well. They've got really good pieces. We speak about their culture all the time, and it's a really big scalp for them to get over the line and beat the Kings, who are the title favourites. So well done to them.
Is Milton Doyle playing his way into the MVP conversation?
No.
You don't think so?
He's good, but no, he's not MVP. He's no Bryce Cotton or he's no Creek or he's no... I mean, his results have been like that, but I just don't think he's going to be in top 5.
Okay, from a Kings point of view, what on earth went wrong? What is happening in their fourth quarters? I think they had 6 yesterday against Tassie, 9 in the fourth against New Zealand, albeit they scraped through and got the win there. What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, they have had some dry patches. The good thing about the Kings, in the past they've had dry patches and still found a way to be able to win ugly, which is good and bad. There'd be some concerning things, though, I would think, from Chase Buford, and he'd have things that they want to work on. But the good thing is they're sitting on top of the table. They've had a few of these patches, and they're so good on the road. So, you know, incredible their results on the road to go and beat New Zealand. But they've poked themselves in the eye a little bit at home a couple of times.
I caught up with Jamie Soward at the Kings game
Yes,
yesterday. He posed the question, should the NBL return to 12-minute quarters? I'm definitely not opposed to it. How do you feel? From
a player's point of view, coaches and fans, definitely 48 minutes is better.
Yeah.
I think it would be fantastic. But I was always told it was just about telecast, trying to package it into a 2-hour telecast. So you actually expand on that, then maybe there's less opportunities, but I don't know. I think there's a lot of positives to be able to get back to 48.
You get the feeling with where the NBL want to position themselves in terms of that feeder league to the NBA, you really want to encourage players to be considering the system as a similar sort of format to what they would be used to, the fringe NBA guys as well.
People make the same argument about the boomers though.
Yeah.
To be honest, as a player, it doesn't make any difference. You just want to play more time.
Yeah.
You want, bench guys to get more opportunities, and starters don't want to play 30 minutes, they want to play 40 minutes and, out of the 48 like the NBA guys do. So I'm not sure it makes too much of a difference for either the boomers or the NBA. I think it's all just about the fans and the enjoyment of being a player in this league.
Finally, our TCL starting five, fifth point, Brittany Griner, released by the Russian government, reading into the details as to actually what has happened, the prisoner swap that took place in Abu Dhabi, the fact that she was forced into labour over there in camp. It's distressing as anything. It is amazing that she is finally back on US soil though.
Yeah, incredible for her and her family, and so sad. I mean, you put yourself in that situation if your own daughter or family member or a friend was in that situation. But there's been uproar in the United States. It just shows, how they are not together as a nation, because the amount of people that are not happy with that trade, and that there's other people in the army that are still over there and still detained and everything else. But, heart goes out to her, and I'm glad she's home. But, gee, there's bigger discussions to be had, because the guy that they traded for, oh my goodness, he is a bad, bad man. We're not talking about marijuana residue of why she was detained. So, bad trade, but happy for her.
Yep. All right, let's keep things moving.
Breaking all the big news in basketball with Matt Logue.
Yes, time for the Logue Down. Matty Logue in the house. Matt, there's a lot happening behind the scenes at the Hawks at the moment. What can you tell us?
Yeah, big time, guys. Look, they've just lost their acting CEO, Nick Haslam. He was in more of a consulting role, but the reality is the Hawks now don't have a CEO. Their crowds are low. I think 5 of their 7 crowds this year are below 3,000 people.
How many below 2,000?
It's close, Shane, not quite. But
Okay.
it's a serious deal. I know the Hawks have put out a statement recently. They're disappointed. They're saying they're not going to be relocated anywhere. But the reality
That was on the base of our show, I reckon.
It was, yes.
They got it very defensive. Well, go and watch their games then, mate.
But the reality is Larry Kesselman has come out publicly and said the situation is a concern. They're not getting big enough crowds. They've only got one major sponsor on their singlets, and they need to be sustainable to secure their future. That is just fact. So a big shout out on Friday to the Hawkettes. They've got to get out and support their team, because at the moment, less than 3,000 people for majority of their home games is not good enough, and it's against the Kings. So I don't know what you think, Shane, but reality is they're a foundation club. I think if it's done right, they can stay in Illawarra, but I have no doubt that club's reach has to be extended.
Let's hope so. I would like to see them stay.
Yeah, I think they deserve to stay.
Well, I think we all would, because of being a foundation club, like you say. But you can't just keep going down this same track if the people won't go and support them.
No, fair enough. Let's keep things moving. There have been some calls for more coaches' protection in the form of a coaches' association. Is this genuinely on the cards?
Yeah, I think the NBL would like to see it happen. I think we need the Players Association to help and buy in as well, and obviously Basketball Australia to collaborate. But Dean Vickerman has spoken to my colleague Mick Randall about this, and quite passionately saying, look, I reached some depths, but we need support. Like, the players get plenty of support. What about the coaches? And I know, Shane, you're a current head coach in the WNBL. There's a lot of things that go on that the public don't realise, and let's be honest, the coaches are the first to get hung out to dry. They're the first to go. And the star players, invariably, they're the ones that, rightly or wrongly, get away with it. Yeah. They don't get sent packing. The underperforming import will, but the star players don't.
100%. And as a coach, there's no way you get looked after the same way as what you did as a player. It's just fact. So he's right. It needs to happen, and it has to happen pretty quickly.
Maddie, the return of All-Star Weekend. I'm so here for this. Talk to me.
I think it'd be great. So we haven't had an All-Star Weekend in the NBL since 2012, 2013 in Joe's Adelaide. Look, and the NBL, Larry wants it, is my understanding. Larry is keen. He's keen to have it. There's some pullback within the league saying, oh, look, we need more teams. There needs to be gaps in the schedule. I don't know what you guys think. Joe's keen.
Why
know,
you
what do
can, Joe?
say?
Just because of
Bring
the
it on.
glitz and glamour and you
Exactly.
hanging
It's
out
it's all about the fanfare and the entertainment. Yeah.
Well, how do you think it goes in the NBA? Because to me, I can't watch that rubbish.
No, and that's the concern, that if we replicate what the NBA
I
do...
love All-Star Weekend in the
Oh,
NBA.
don't say
It's
that.
so good.
You know, the only way that All-Star Weekend will work in the NBL
Go on.
is if they go Aussies versus imports.
Imports, yeah.
It's the
I
only
love
way
it.
that it'll work. Aussies versus imports,
love it.
where there's actually some pride to play for. We've done it in the past.
Why not?
And
Do
it was
it.
successful. And then you get a whole lot of debate. All the Americans get together and are like, we're going to beat the locals, where you get actual true passion. Put prize money for the winners. The losers get zip, okay, except the free weekend, and then that's it. That's the only way.
We can totally come up with the format here on the Basketball Show for them.
We just did, didn't we?
We'll do
We've
the
got it
work.
covered.
Exactly. Finally, Liz Cambage potentially going to return
Sydney
to
Flames.
the court. Would you
Sydney
sign her?
Flames.
Would you
Stop
sign
the
her?
press.
Oh, we'd have to have a very honest conversation, but I reckon she could fill, a few little voids in the centre. Big Lizzie.
There is absolutely no way you would say no if she came knocking. There
I
is
think I just
no
said that in a
way.
roundabout way.
So Liz
But
is
she'd
home.
have to pull her head in a little bit though. God love you, Lizzie, but
Yeah, she's home for the summer. She's based in Melbourne, and she's been quoted as saying that playing in China is something that she'd be keen to do.
$1 million bucks
a lot
a
of
year
people
to do
said that basketball's done, but maybe not.
They would definitely have
she's
a bigger budget than you
she's
do.
always coming back. She could make $1 million a year. You're telling me she's not going to go do it? And that's what she could get in China.
I think we would like to see her back on the court for sure.
Everyone would
Absolutely.
like to see that.
Awesome, Maddie, great insight. Let's keep things moving and go crystal gazing. All right, time to go crystal gazing. The Mayor of Brisbane is with us. D-Ruck, how you doing?
Very well, Joe. Welcome back, Matt. And Hammer, you got a win yesterday. Here we go.
Where to go, mate? Slept well Saturday night, actually. Thank you.
Let's take a look at the leaderboard, guys. D, you've caught up with me. We're both on 28 at the top. Hammer, 26, and Matt, we just continue not to talk about it.
Absent.
The Wildcats are hosting Melbourne United to cap off round 10 tonight, looking ahead to round 11, which tips off on Wednesday, don't forget. Cairns and Brisbane in the Sunshine Stoush. D, who's your money on?
I'm going to go with Cairns in that one. They weren't convincing on the weekend at all, beating Illawarra. They just snuck in which was probably one of the dumbest games of basketball I've seen this year. But I think they'll knock off Brisbane in this game. But Cairns aren't looking as convincing as they were earlier in the year.
Why was it one of the dumbest games you've seen this year?
Shot selection down the stretch, Joe. Decisions on game-winning plays. I thought it was just really poor. And they had the ball in the right players' hands. Those players just did not make good decisions, Hammer.
Fair enough. Okay, it is the fourth and final throwdown of the regular season on Thursday. South East Melbourne leading that series 2-1. Can United level things up, Hammer?
No, they can't. I am still backing South East Melbourne. I've got them in the top 4, just like Derek had Cairns in the top 4, but it sounds like he's doing a backflip on that real quick because he's starting to see what I saw early. But South East Melbourne have been really good. I haven't always been overly complimentary about where they're at and what they're doing and the direction they're going over the last few years, but I've felt good over the last 6 weeks about the way they're growing and the way they're building. I think they're going to be there at the pointy end of the season.
2 games on Friday night, including another state rivalry with the Hawks and Kings going head-to-head. Matt, who wins that down the gong?
Yeah, the Kings. They'll have a full-on training session this week. Buford will give it to them after that loss against the Jack Jumpers, and yeah, I think they'll turn up and they'll be too good.
Record crowd of 2,500 I'm predicting too.
D, that is followed by the Wildcats hosting the Breakers.
Ooh, this is a really tough one, and I think I'm going to go with Perth to hold it down at home. Look, they're keeping games close and then letting the man Cotton go to work when it matters most. So Perth in a really tight one, but Cotton being the difference.
Hammer, Tassie and Cairns face off on Saturday. The Jack Jumpers back on their home court. What's the crystal ball telling you?
I'm going with Tassie. I think they play a smarter brand of basketball, higher percentage. I love the way Doyle's going about it. Jack McVeigh, we love him down the stretch. He was enormous against the Sydney Kings, but they're just so tough. They give themselves a chance. They came into the game down 14 points in that fourth quarter, but just found a way to stay together, execute, hit big shots. They'll do the same against Kings.
Maddie, the second game on Saturday is the 36ers and Bullets.
Yeah, geez, take your pick here. I think the 36ers, the Bullets, they're equally inconsistent, but I think the 36ers can get the job done.
Southeast Melbourne and Sydney on Sunday. D, this one should be an absolute cracker.
Wow. I'm going to have to look through the notes here. Okay, Joe, I've gone for Southeast Melbourne. I think they're on a run. And I talked to Shane yesterday about the Phoenix, and I said, they're starting to win me over. I'm starting to believe in them as a team. Maybe it's taken Simon Mitchell this number of years to really understand what the league's about from a coaching perspective, and they look in real harmony right now.
Gee, Sydney are good on the road, though.
This is true.
Every time you write them off, Sydney just bounce back with a big win on the road like they did against New Zealand.
That one is out there in Gippsland as well. Melbourne United then host the Hawks at JCA. Hammer, who wins that one?
Melbourne.
Monday, it's the 36ers hosting Tassie. That is a big game in terms of the ladder, given where these teams are. Matt, who have you got?
Yeah, Tassie, as Shane said, they're too tough, and 36ers too inconsistent, and they've been disappointing, to be honest. So Tassie will go on their merry way.
Round 11 wrapping up on Tuesday. D, the Taipans taking on the Wildcats in far north Queensland. Who wins?
The coin.
I'm going to go with the Taipans, and I don't know which teams you and Matt actually like. You guys are journalistically trained. You stay so damn neutral about everything. Who are your teams? Hammer and I lay it out on the line every week.
I reckon I would actually probably say the Wildcats on the road in that one.
Yeah, I'm with you, Joe.
All right, Hammer, we see why she doesn't say anything.
All right, D, thank you so much for that.
Cheers.
Time now for Points Made thanks to UPCOZ. We've got to start with the NBA. We are talking about the unwritten rule or the code around dribbling the ball out at the end of games. We all saw what Zion did at the end of the game against the Suns, that 360 windmill dunk. It was unreal, really, let's be honest. D, where do you stand on this kind of thing?
Well, Joe, let me take you back to 1986 when I bounced one off the floor and went up and caught it, reversed it behind my head, and the crowd went off. My close friends were there. They enjoyed it. They still talk about it to this day. So imagine how the fans who saw that live, Shane, felt when they saw Zion rock that 360 windmill and walk off like, yeah. That
D,
was
did you do that off of a trampoline? What are you talking about?
Oh, my God, Joe. Go back and check some of the old footage if you can squint hard enough. Anyway, look at Zion erupt off the floor, and his whole attitude after he dunks it is like, yeah, what you going to do about that? I think that is perfectly fine. This stupid code that the NBA players have got themselves so deeply enriched with now, just stop it. Play the game to the whistle. That's what we are taught fundamentally anyway. Play to the whistle, play to the siren. And Chris Paul, of course, has always got to stick his nose in there, trying to be, the protector of the shield. Chris Paul, get out of here. Your team lost. You're over the hill now. Zion is the man, and the Pelicans are the best team in the West. Rant over.
Well, for me, it was Payne, right? Was it Payne that was going off?
Yep.
Yes.
Mate, I wanted to see him more worried about the 20-point loss. How about you get a little bit angry about getting your butt kicked rather than what's happening when you're down 20, it finishes at 22 instead of 20. Take some pride, mate. But I just think it's the Australian way that we play to the final buzzer. If I'm a scrub and I'm coming on at the end of the game and we're down 10, I'm shooting it. I'm trying to get a 3 up. That's just the way we go. All right? I'm telling my players, you're up 10, go take an extra shot, go and make things happen, play to the final siren. That's the way we're built. But for some reason in America, and I always felt like it was all based on the gambling side and lines and things like that, that people were always saying, no, you've got to walk that ball out. But I think if it was just the consistency you played till the final siren, then we don't have any problems with that side of it anyway. But Payne, come on, mate.
No, love that from Zion. He said afterwards as well, you've got to understand they sent my teammates home last year. Love that sort of support and camaraderie as well. D, you alluded to it, the Pels, they are top of the West. Are they a legit contender now?
I don't think so. I don't think Zion and that crew have enough playoff experience as a unit. Now, they're playing very well at the moment. They've knocked off Phoenix again on the second leg of that back-to-back, so Phoenix can kind of suck on that one for a while. They could take their sorry butts back to Phoenix and try and regroup. But Zion is a force right now. He might be quietly working his way up the ladder for MVP, Shane. He's unstoppable. If you look at his stats during this winning streak, he's shooting something like 64% from the field. Physically, I don't know anyone that can defend him. Maybe LeBron 15 years ago, but physically he's too big even for LeBron. They've got good pieces around him, but yet I think, as we've seen year after year, Shane, you got to have experience in the finals.
Mate, you act like 65% is a big deal. 70% of his shots are dunks. Of course, he's going to shoot a high percentage, but you're right. He's a physical beast, just too strong for everybody else. I like the fact that Dyson Daniels is part of that, finding his way into getting some more minutes and contributing as well. But I agree. I think some of the more experienced teams come playoffs are going to be able to knock them out in a series.
Closer to home in the NBL now, guys, the Adelaide 36ers, they are underachieving at the moment. They went down to Southeast Melbourne by 18 on Sunday. They also lost to the Wildcats 98-90 in Perth. Bryce Cotton had a game-high 32 in that one. When you look at the numbers, your Franks, AC, McCarron, they're not bad at the moment, but why isn't it working, Derek? What are you seeing from them?
Well, Joe, one of the big numbers that sticks out to me is they're last in the league in three-point shooting. They only shoot the ball at 30% from the three. That's abysmal. I think Mitch McCarron is shooting about 16%. Their numbers are awful, and that makes it really hard from the jump. Now, on top of that, they're one of the worst teams in terms of turnovers. They're in the bottom third in the league. They're kicking that ball all over the floor. I'm sure it's giving CJ nightmares down there. And then from a more subjective perspective, I'm not sure who the man is on that team, Shane. Sometimes it appears to be Cleveland. Sometimes it looks like it should be Franks. Other games it's DJ. McCarron should be doing more than he does. I'm just, some of these guys are bordering on being overrated because they're definitely underperforming.
I agree with that. And they've got some really good pieces, some exciting pieces. So you can see their upside and why we know that they should be title contenders. But for some reason, it's just not gelling. Franks is one that he looks pretty. He's big, he's athletic, he's strong, he can shoot the ball, he can play inside and out. But for some reason, he just doesn't have the mindset to dominate games. Listen to the commentators say, they need to get Franks more opportunities. But sometimes, if you're the best player, you got to go make things happen yourself. You got to go get buckets. You got to go, whether it's being able to seal and get something, get an offensive board, demand the ball, and I'm going to go get a bucket because my team needs it right now. And they don't have many people on that team that are prepared to do it. Cleveland is a great role player, really good defender. But for some reason, even their defense, when you look at McCarron, Sunday Dech, and Cleveland, three outstanding perimeter defenders, they give up 100 points to Southeast Melbourne. They give up big points to Perth. So for whatever reason, things aren't quite clicking, and they definitely need another import, but it has to be the right person as well.
So question for you, Ben Fitz on Twitter said that Adelaide need a world-class point guard and a defensive big. Not sure which one is more important at this stage. D, which would you be going for?
I think I'm always partial to the point guard position. I think that might unlock Robert Franks a bit more and certainly help DJ out. Look, Drimmick's injury a couple of weeks ago certainly set him back a little bit because he was playing well. But, it's ticking now. They're 6-8, Hammer, after the, the glory of the NBA trip that they had. They need to get on a run right now because, they alongside Brisbane probably are the most underachieving teams at the moment.
I think you bring in a point guard, though. That's Mitch McCarron. He's their marquee player. He's on massive money.
No.
No. That's the fact. That's not an opinion. He is their marquee player as far as what he is paid. He is listed as their marquee player. So if you bring in a point guard, then you're wasting what you are spending on Mitch McCarron. For me, they need another defensive influence. They need to be able to balance that with DJ when Franks goes to that 4 as well. They definitely need something, though.
And very quickly, New Zealand Breakers import Barry Brown called referee Vaughan Maybury a cheat over the weekend. He was upset, obviously, at the officiating. What did you make of the situation, D? It seems that that's just a big no-no.
Huge no-no. I've never seen anything like this before, Joe. And how long has it been? 32 years for me around the NBL, and I'd never seen it. And the way Vaughan reacted, I knew that not only was it a basketball infraction he felt, but I think he took it as a personal affront to his integrity as a referee. And like I said, I think I tweeted out, I've never seen Vaughn react like that. We know Vaughn can be somewhat distant as a referee at times, but he's a quality person and a quality official. So I think Barry Brown was quite apologetic when they came out of the timeout. He was trying to kind of backtrack upon what he said without exactly kind of admitting he was entirely wrong or give up his stance.
Mate, look, he's not getting charged for it. He got a tech foul.
Really?
For calling a referee a cheat is what I'm told. You can't do that. That is a real personal thing for somebody's integrity as a referee to actually insinuate or say that he's cheating. You just can't do that. It's more than a tech foul, but the NBL has set a precedent now that is what you get if you call somebody a cheat.
No wonder Barry Brown very apologetic. Dee, thank you so much for that. That is points made thanks to UPCOZ. Don't forget to check out upcoz.com for all the NBA and NBL markets. Well, thanks to 2K23, we are now joined by Aussie baller turned coach who's plying his trade in the NBA as an assistant with the Nets. Adam Caporn, great to have you on the basketball show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Nice to meet you. I'll see you again. Yes. You
guys have won 8 of your last 10. Patty Mills went absolutely off yesterday. The festive season is among us. How is life just generally over there for you?
It's been great. It was a big challenge moving the family and having young kids and going from Canberra to downtown Brooklyn, obviously. But families made the move really well. Obviously, the Nets supporting that has been tremendous, and just enjoying the challenge of coaching in the NBA and learning and being around so many other great players and coaches. And, yeah, it's been great.
All right, mate. Well, I had a whole list of questions. Ben Simmons and his free throws, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, all these things, but we're not allowed to ask any of those. So what I am going to ask is, what's the day look like for you, mate, and your role, and how do you go about that?
Yeah, I can't give you anything that exciting on my day. The life as a coach, as you know, is a little monotonous, but we love it. It's in the NBA, the schedule is one of the great challenges. The games are coming quick. We came in from Indiana last night. We play Washington tomorrow. We have our departments and things we work on. So post-game, it's getting your video work done. And there's always a team responsibility as well as an individual focus where you're giving guys bits of feedback, statistical and video before the next game, which is coming quick. And so get into hotels early in the morning, get some sleep, ready for the next coaches meeting, plan the next game, plan the next workouts. And there's guys that are playing different levels of minutes. And one of the parts of my job is is guys that aren't playing as much in the rotation is planning some of their workouts and scheduling that and how we're keeping them ready to perform and getting them better.
Capes, you spent 6 years playing in the NBL with the Hawks and Wildcats before getting into the coaching side of things. Can you talk us through that journey from starting out as a coach to now being in the NBA with the Nets?
Well, one of the things I remember about it the most was getting injured. And as that was sort of happening, having some people around me just encouraged me to start coaching. It started in the State League in Western Australia with the Willetton Tigers the year I was out with a knee injury. And it's one of the things I'm really thankful to the Wildcats about is how well they supported me off the court. It was a pretty traumatic thing. Ultimately, that knee injury ended my career. And in some ways, it's, I joke about it that I'm hopefully a better coach than player. So I'm sort of benefited from getting started into coaching early. But just straight away, one of the great things about the game and the sense of community in basketball and Australian basketball is a lot of my old coaches, mentors, teammates had great support, got a lot of encouragement to get into coaching. And then it was just fortuitous opportunities. So a spot came up at the AIS after a year. I've been a head coach in our State League, so I got an opportunity to do that. The spot came up at the AIS. Great place to not only learn about basketball, but leadership, and there's a lot of investment at the AIS in sort of growing you as a coach holistically. And then the timing of things was that David Patrick left St. Mary's. And that chance is really what put me into full-time coaching. The scouting, the seriousness of college basketball and the intensity of it, and make a lot of mistakes and dealing with the pressure of having to win. But certainly got the bug through those years of seeing young guys get better. And then I also benefited because our point guard during that time was Dellavedova. So he made all the coaches look good.
What about exciting times, mate? No doubt about that. But there must be, when you go back and look at the Boomers experience and opportunity to be part of that coaching staff and work with some of our greatest players of all time, must be exciting. And what happens now? Do you keep in contact with Gorge, and how does the coaching staff go about it now?
Yeah, I mean, the experiences are with the Boomers for sure, and the ones I look forward to the most. There's just the passion there that's, we sort of all understand. It's difficult to put into words. Nothing but just appreciation for the opportunity to do anything with the Boomers at any time. I started out doing a little bit of video. I'd have the opportunity to help on the coaching staff, and the experience we had in Tokyo was something I'll cherish forever. As you know, the bonds you make with the players are really close, so stay in touch with a lot of them, get to see them on the road here, checking with guys back in Australia. Never as much as you want, but always enjoy doing that, and just constantly watching the guys play, talking to the coaching staff, checking with Gorge, Matt Nielsen, John Riley, David Patrick. We're texting each other, watching games, talking about what's going on. It's a little less formal at the moment. We've all got our own seasons going on, but we still get things done to divide them up, like the European Championships last off season. Watch that closely and start figuring out what's going on in basketball and planning for what we'll need. And one of the exciting things right now is there's so many young players playing so well. We're going to have a real challenge picking a team.
Hey, Capes, the Aussie basketball community in the US, as you sort of alluded to there, is really quite strong at the moment. How aware are you and the people that you're around of that connection between the NBL and the NBA and the pathway that it is providing for players these days?
It's definitely grown. I can't sort of speak to what it was in the past, but I feel really fortunate that there's so many people who've done so many great things for Australian basketball that we're so highly regarded. And I mean, I pinch myself at times with some of the young things our players are coming to the NBA and doing and have done, and incredible the opportunity they sort of have created for everyone associated with Australian basketball. And it's just awesome seeing everyone on the road and bumping into them before games and seeing them do so well. It's really cool.
I'm all out. I've got no more. I've got no more questions.
I've got one more.
Yeah, you keep going, mate. That's what I'm saying. Please.
The NBA environment is obviously a high pressure one. You've got the controversy that surrounds every team. They go through something at some point. Being in that system, does it impact you mentally? How do you deal with the pressure of that and sort of the decisions that you're making with life, balancing family and that kind of thing?
I think your question is just with the scrutiny, I guess, and the pressure people are under here. How do you deal with it? Well, I can't really understand what it's like for some of the elite players in the NBA, of course. So you're trying to support them and be there for them and help them do great work to get prepared. My approach has been to do the best we can in preparing, and to a classic line I've always sort of heard and lived by: not get too excited by the ups and get too high, so to speak, or get too down about the losses and difficult times. Just like Paddy did last night when he put the hard hat on, just go to work and get ready and be professional. And that's sort of essentially, especially assistant coach, your job is to make life as easy as you can for the players to prepare to perform and play under great pressure and prepare them to do that. Dealing with it personally, It's not as big a challenge as it might seem, to be honest. You feel for what the players and the organisation go through at times, and that's, like at the Olympic Games and World Championships, you feel the same pressure going into a quarterfinal that you have to win, and some players aren't playing as much as they want, struggling with roles. All those things are always happening, and your job is to, like I said, support them, but also just try and make the complex somewhat simple. We all want to go out there and play basketball and hoop and play with joy and play to win. So trying to just always get back to that. And the family part for me is the thing that keeps you grounded, keeps you in check. Kids don't really care.
Awesome, mate.
Typical
Well,
Aussie, cool as a cucumber, and we really appreciate the honesty and your time. I know it's obviously difficult to give us too much, but it's just interesting insight to speak to someone who's involved in what you're doing, and great to see another Aussie over in the States killing it.
Keep up the good work, mate.
Appreciate you guys. Enjoy watching the show and following the league. Thanks for having me.
Catch you later.
Good on you, mate.
Great to have Capes on. Obviously can't give us too much, just the situation is what it is, but I was still sort of really excited to hear from him.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear all the real stuff.
Oh,
we
to
wanted to
be
hear
a
about
fly
Ben
on
Simmons,
to be a fly on the wall.
and his shot and all that. I want to know who's developing him. But we couldn't ask any of those questions. That's all right. And Kyrie and his beliefs and KD. So many good things. So don't tweet us about not asking the right questions.
No, but what a good sport for coming on anyway.
Yep,
and you know that he's,
well
involved with those guys, and he's speaking to the other Aussies around the league who are doing really well from a Boomers point of view. So
that was good. I just wanted open slather. I wanted the real stuff.
Yeah. Maybe over dinner. Over dinner. If you're lucky, I don't know. That is all we've got time for anyway.